Hello and welcome. This demo is going to show you how to use Digi's Flashwriter software. Flashwriter can be used with Digi TransPort WR routers. Flashwriter will rewrite the router's flash with the specified version of firmware and apply a factory default configuration. It's important to note that all custom files and configuration on the router will be removed. So if you need anything on this router, be sure to have a backup before running Flashwriter. When the flashing process is complete, the router will be factory defaulted and have new firmware installed. You may be asked to re-flash a router as part of troubleshooting with our technical support team. Flashwriter is also useful if you need to reset and recover a router in various situations. It can be used if you just need to apply new firmware and clear the existing configuration. If the router is not booting up correctly, Flashwriter can normally fix this. Even if you are unable to log into the router, Flashwriter can still be used to reflash the router and reset it to factory defaults. I'll be running through this process using the WR31 router because it has all the LEDs and the interfaces on the same side of the router, and you can easily see what's happening. I have the power connected, and the Ethernet cable is connected to Ethernet 0. This cable goes into my LAN switch, and my laptop is also connected to the same switch. If your router has more than one Ethernet port, make sure you connect the cable to Ethernet 0 for the flashing procedure. During this demo, I'll be using two pieces of software, Flashwriter and the Device Discovery utility. If you don't have these already, I'll show you where to get these from now. In your web browser, go to www.digi.com. Click on Support, Support Tools, and then Firmware Updates. Select WR31 from the list, or start typing in the keyword box, and this will narrow the list down. First, download the Flashwriter application shown here. You need to install this. Next, you need the files that Flashwriter will install onto the router. There are two versions shown here. If your router has a part number which includes the L5 notation, this means your router has the MC7354 radio module inside, and you need to download this firmware shown here. For all of the variants, you will need the option below. My router is a WR31L1, so I've downloaded this version. The firmware for the L5 routers with MC7354 modules is about 100 meg larger due to all the cellular network specific firmware files that need to be included for this radio module. When the firmware zip is finished downloading, extract the zip to its own folder and make a note of this location, as you'll need it later on in the process. The second piece of software I'll be using is the Device Discovery utility. It allows me to find a WR router on my network without needing to know the configuration or the IP address that is currently set on the router. Scroll down to the section Diagnostics, Utilities and MIBs. Select your Windows version and look for the Device Discovery utility. If after watching this demo you think the software will be useful for you, download it too. I'll open the Device Discovery utility and click on the Refresh View option. There are no routers discovered on my network. This is because the discovery protocol is disabled on the router unless you manually enable it. Enabling the discovery protocol is easy, and this is my top tip for easy configuration of a router. Take a small USB flash drive, ideally less than 2 GB in size. Format the drive with a FAT file system, and you can now use this flash drive in a WR router. Now create a plain text file on the flash drive and give it the name autoexec.bat. Add CLI type configuration lines into this file and save it. When you insert the flash drive into the USB interface of a WR router, and assuming the interface is not locked down in the router configuration, the router will immediately run the configuration lines in the autoexec.bat. This is my file shown here. The first line enables the DHCP client on Ethernet 0, so the router picks up an IP address from my DHCP server. The next line enables the discovery protocol for use with the device discovery software. This third line disables the DHCP server running on the router. I already have a DHCP server running on my network and don't want this router allocating IP addresses as well. This last line will make some of the LEDs on the router flash more rapidly, so we know when the script has finished running. Lines that start with a hash symbol are a comment line. I'll put this flash drive into the router now and let the script run. When you see the LEDs flashing rapidly, this means the script has been run. Now I'll go back to the device discovery tool and refresh. And you can see the WR31 is shown with an IP address. Give this a try. It might make your initial configuration quicker and easier. Let's bring up the browser and try and log into this WR31. Now we're logged in, we can see the firmware version is out of date. 5.2.17.12 is shown here. I'll go to execute a command and we'll run some commands to create some faults. First, I'll rename the config.da0 file to old.old. This will stop the router from being able to find a valid configuration file. The firmware running on the router is stored in the file name called image and also image4. I'll delete both of these files. So now we have one pretty messed up router. I'll reboot it now and we can watch the LEDs. We can see now the router has rebooted and the bootloader is active. I'll refresh the device discovery tool. Nothing is found. I'll retry the USB stick. No extra flashing LEDs, so the script has not been run. USB sticks cannot be used in a WR router when it is only running in the bootloader. So now we'll need Flashwriter to recover this router. Flashwriter can re-flash a router over Ethernet even if it's not booting. As long as the bootloader is running, it is possible to recover the router using this method. If the bootloader is corrupted or not running, then we can still recover the router using Flashwriter, but you will need a serial cable between the PC and the router. We won't be covering this here. The default settings in Flashwriter should work without any changes. Just make sure that ETH is selected from the drop-down list. Click on Load and agree to the warning. Now select the network interface on your PC that is connected to the same switch as the router. Then click OK and enter the serial number of the router. This is numbers only, with any leading zeros omitted. Click OK and OK again. And now you need to locate the files that you downloaded and extracted earlier. Specifically, you're looking for the file with the .all extension, the all file. Select this and click on Open. Now you need to select the correct radio module from the drop-down list. My router is a WR31L1, and this is where you need to check that part number and make sure you pick the right option. Otherwise, it is very likely that the cellular module will not work after the router is flashed. Click OK. Flashwriter will now connect to the router and start the flashing process. The router will reboot during the process and run further checks. You will be notified when the process is complete. You can now close Flashwriter. The router has new firmware and a factory default configuration. Again, I'll use my USB flash drive to configure the router so I can find it on my network. When the LEDs flash rapidly, the script has finished running. Back into the device discovery tool and refresh and check the IP address. It obtains the same IP address from the DHCP server. We'll skip the login wizard, log in, and then check the firmware version. And now you can see version 6106 is installed. I'll go to execute command, and we'll look for the file that was renamed earlier to old.old to prove this has been removed. The router is now ready to be configured and deployed. I hope you found this useful. Thank you for watching.